Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city sand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park. Fans drift in jerseys, legacy bold. The Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel and on X. Hello, once again, as we've seen a lot of each other today through through videos and live streams today. As if you guys just tuned in, the Mets Trade Deadline show was very interesting. Great viewership, great audience, great comments, great everything on that show. So keep on coming all over again. And now we're on a pregame show, right? Now we're talking about some baseball on the field, right? We talked about the on and off the field type of stuff, the administration type of work, the organization with David Stearns trying to get better. And I'm hoping that the comments are working on this stream today. If you guys are there, I see you got a good number of people in the chat in the stream right now. So say what's up in the chat, and we'll get started talking about the pregame show and the Mets looking to sweep the Giants out of Oracle Park and then head to San Diego for 3. So far, so good for the West Coast trip for the New York Mets. Very good performance by David Peterson. Once again, the only guy you can actually trust in this rotation. Why you should get another rotation piece, as we talked about in the other show. Also, the 2-1 victory, we all know, and I know I put that wrong on the screen as I wrote it wrong, but as we all know, the Mets did beat the Giants 2-1, and I'm changing it as we speak, so just give me a little bit of time to change it, but you guys know the deal. You guys know what the deal is, right? I was trying to finish up the stream as we can possibly get it done quickly. So I do apologize for the 2-1 victory that says we lost, but we didn't lose. But you guys understand that. So a little typo ain't gonna hurt nobody, but we'll change that really quick in a little bit. So once again, guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I really, really, really feel like some people are deathly afraid of trading certain players. And I understand you have your favorites. I have my favorites. We all have our favorites. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And again, am I saying that Luis Robert is going to be the end-all, be-all? The guy that's going to make the difference for the New York Mets for the next 2 months? No. Am I telling you that anybody else that you might want or might not want is going to be the difference? No. But one thing I do know is that if you do nothing, I feel like more people will be happy. And the same people who are complaining about the Luis Robert and Cedric Mullins and anybody else that you might actually try to get, as I'm trying to figure this out right now so I can change up the score really quick. The fact of the matter is that if we do nothing, you will get a lot more of Tyrone Taylor. You will get a lot more of people you don't want to see on this team offensively. All I've heard and all I've gotten criticized of why are you talking about the pitching? The offense has been the problem. Well, if you don't get anybody because there's only really two bats out there that is probably on the radar for the New York Mets. I'm not counting Eugenio Suarez. I'm counting Cedric Mullins and Luis Robert. And those are your best option bats. And don't give me, don't do anything because those guys are not worth it. Well, you're going to get lesser guys for, it might cost a little less for those lesser guys. But guess what? The same thing happens. You get lesser guys, they're going to perform less in the postseason. Like, it's just that simple. And I do understand that it gets people upset when you have to be a little uncomfortable at the deadline, where you got to give up people you might not want to give up. Even though a week ago, and I think this is recency bias, as Chris, as you all know, Chris, CP, he says it all the time. Recency bias is a real thing for Mets fans, right? Because Mark Vientos hit a 2-run double yesterday and ultimately won the game for us, everybody's excited. Everybody's like, oh, look at Mark Vientos. Why would you trade Mark Vientos? And now everybody's saying, oh, well, what about the service time for Mark Vientos? You still got about 4.5 years of control. Why would you give it up for a rental? Even though technically Robert's not a rental. Now people care about team control. When we try to bring it up to people, they don't want to care about that. So, in my opinion, no, Joel, people are saying to do nothing. Because here's what people want to do. They said, oh, let's get Luis Robert, but let's give Joe Schmo, who's a 27th ranked prospect that nobody cares about. Right? It doesn't work like that. That's the problem. Right? I had a guy the other day when I brought up the Gregory Soto trade, and I said that you basically gave lower level prospects that that aren't going to mean anything to us. And then somebody says, well, they're talented. Well, I hope so. They made professional baseball. So that's the problem. Yeah, but what Vientos' talent? He's a positionless player who lost his job this year. He lost his job based on guys who really hasn't been that good. Like, Beatty has been better than everybody else, but he hasn't been that good. And Beatty's my guy. So, yes, I'm saying it. Like, the fact is, guys, you got to understand, Vientos is positionless. He can't play third base. He's a butcher. He can't play first base because he's bad. So, he's a DH who is not hitting. Like, we're acting like this guy is on pace for 30 home runs here. He's not even close to that. Like, this is the problem that I have with a lot of people that are like, oh, what did Mark Vientos do? He did it once last year, and he was great, and I give him all the credit for that. But he's not doing it this year. And you can't be waiting around hoping for him just to throw him in a DH spot, and August 1st comes around, and now you're stuck with him if he doesn't perform. Yeah, Robert might have declining numbers, but he also has been resurgent in the last 10 games, right? If everybody wants to bring up yesterday's Mark Vientos double, then bring up the last 10 games for Luis Robert. He's been better than Mark Vientos the last 10 games. If you want to go like that, you can get Mullins for cheap, can you? You sure it won't take more than what you might have to give up? Luis Robert, if you give up Vientos for Luis Robert, you really think that's more expensive than Mullins? You're nuts. You're nuts. Because Mullins overall is a better player at this moment, and there's more people going after him. So competition is going to be a little bit higher. Price is probably going to be a little bit higher, rental or not. He's not going to be cheap. Yeah, easy. They're pretty good, huh? Yeah, but again, here's the problem. Luis Robert solves two problems. Now, if we're going to go on the last 10 games of Mark Vientos and Luis Robert, what is Luis Robert has done that Vientos has not? Provide defense with that offensive last 10 games. Vientos doesn't. And you solve two problems. And again, I'm not saying Robert's going to be the end-all be-all, nor that I'm saying that Vientos keeping him is going to be the difference of keeping him or not. I'm not saying that at all. Well, Mike, the reason why you consider those two losers is because who else do you want? You could say Eugenio Suarez, but that's not happening. right? That's the obvious better bat, but it's just not going to happen. No, Joel, I don't understand. We're going to give up Jet Williams and Jonah Tong, but giving up Vientos solves one problem, roster problem. Again, here's the problem, guys. People don't want to trade Acuna. People don't want to trade Vientos. People don't want to trade Mauricio. You can't trade Beatty. So all 4 of these guys are going to end up on the roster on August 1st. And then what do? The same nonsense Mendoza has been doing all year, sitting certain guys, playing certain guys, platooning certain guys, and it hasn't worked. Right? Nobody has taken the reign. Nobody has played good enough to warrant the job except for Brett Beatty. And for that, for all we know, he could turn into a pumpkin next week. Joel, I'm not saying we have to give up Vientos. I think the reason why the trade is holding up, because I think the talks are very serious between the White Sox and the Mets. I think David Stearns is trying all he can to leave Vientos off out of that package, out of that deal. So I'm not saying go and do I want to move Vientos? No. But I also understand that you got to be uncomfortable in trade deadlines to get better. And by no means am I saying that Robert's going to be a difference maker and losing Vientos is not going to be a negative. We have no idea. I know what he's not. He's not a defensive player, so that's not negative. I know Luis Robert will be in center field and play great defense. Yeah, exactly. Vientos is out of the lineup with a lefty, and I know it's a bullpen game. So by any means, Vientos could be in the game in the third inning and the fourth inning when they're mixing in matches. So it's a bullpen game for the Giants. So, yeah, but Joel, here's the thing. Have you not paid attention to Stearns? Why would he wants to give up 3 top 20 to 30 prospects when he can give up one player in Vientos that we already have a logjam at those positions? Where, by the way, Vientos isn't even a third baseman anymore. He's not even a position player anymore. He is sporadically a utility player that plays once a week, maybe twice, at third base. And they put Mauricio and Beatty there more because Vientos is a butcher. He's not a good defensive third baseman. And then on top of that, he proved that you're not a good first baseman either. And on top of that, he's not really hitting to warrant keeping him on the field. Now, I'm not saying that if you keep Vientos, don't put him at DH. Sure, I would do that. But I've said this time and time again, guys. Time and time again. There can't be a situation where on August 1st, you got all 4 of these guys still on the roster. It does not make sense. Haven't we learned over the last 105 games that platooning these guys and sitting guys and playing guys at certain times doesn't work? It does not work. You're keeping these guys as a logjam on your roster, and you're not getting better. You're hoping these guys turn into something. Hoping. I know a lot of people like to hope, but hoping doesn't win nothing. Hoping doesn't make you better. All right? You gave 105 games to Vientos to figure things out. He still has problems. Like, the fact is, Mark Vientos had 6 home runs this year. Even Luis Robert, with a bad season, has 10 home runs. Oh, by the way, he also has a good amount of stolen bases too. So his speed matters as well for you speed demons out there. He has 27 RBIs when Robert has over 40. Mark Vientos is batting 226. Yeah, Robert's batting what? 210, 207? So if we're going to go with numbers, Robert's having a better year than Mark Vientos, not only offensively, but he's better defensively. And he fills a hole that is desperately needed. There might be, and plus, like, is there a possibility that Mark Vientos goes off and gets to his 20 home run mark? Absolutely. But are you counting on it? Like, everybody act like Mark Vientos has been good for 4 years straight, and finally he's having a bad year and we're waiting to get rid of him. That's not the case. He had one good year and everybody's making him out to be Wade Boggs. David Wright, like the way people are acting. He is not untouchable by any means. Now, would people be happy if Vientos for Cedric Mullins or Vientos for, like, people are like, oh, why didn't you just try to use Vientos in a trade for Sandy Alcantara? Maybe that is the case. But would you rather him out of your division or in your division if that's the case? I'd rather him go to the White Sox where he's just going to, lose for the next couple of seasons. And even if he is good, he's playing for the White Sox. He ain't hurting us. OPS, that's a good call, L. Let me just check really quick. And it's probably not very good for both of them, to be quite honest with you, even though Vientos might be slightly lower just considering his power and just in general is just not there. Give me a second. Let's see. OPS. OPS is a 638 for Mark Vientos. And let me check. Give me a second. OPS is a 738 for Luis Robert. So there you go. So OPS is better. Slugging is better. On base is actually better. Batting average. And hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. I apologize. That's on me. 1 second. His OPS is 636. Sorry. I don't know why they put 2020 on the bottom over here. I don't get that. Sorry about that. All right. So OPS is very similar. Slugging better than it's about the same for both of them. On base is around the same. Again, batting average is a 20-point difference from Vientos getting the nod on that one. Strikeouts are a bit lower. He has 26 stolen bases this year, 41 RBIs, with Mark Vientos having 26. And Luis Robert has 4 more home runs. Right? So there you go. And he's played about the same amount of games as Vientos. Actually, I think Vientos played a little bit more games, actually. Let's see. Double check one more time. Games. Yeah. So Mark Vientos played about 7 less games, but still has only 6 home runs. Well, Tommy G, Mendoza had 4 left-handed batters in the lineup against lefties, and I'm assuming you've watched the Mets all year. Their righties don't hit lefties. Their lefty bats have been hitting better against lefties. And again, guys, today's the Giants bullpen game. So Matt Gage is probably going to pitch an inning. So they're going to use lefty righties. So whatever combination of a lineup you wanted to start with, it is what it is. It's not like you're getting a starter that's a left-hander today. It's a bullpen game. So regardless of what it looks like today, doesn't really matter. All right, let's see. So look, once again, I am not saying that I would just want to trade Vientos for Luis Robert and be like, oh, that kind of, am I intrigued? Sure. Absolutely. Of course, you got that in the back of your head of what Vientos did last year, but you can't keep on trying it out. Guys, we got 5 days here to better your team. If you don't better your team in 5 days, you are what you are roster-wise. There is no coming back. I'd rather try to get better than hoping for one of these guys to step up. And if they don't step up, what do? You have holes in center field. You have holes at third base. Like, that's a problem. That's a problem. Yeah. Well, ACJ, I agree. Robert hasn't done anything in the last 2 years, but he was on the worst 2 teams in baseball history the last 2 years. And prior to that second year, I love how people just leave out 2023 like it was 10 years ago. Right? We could talk about Vientos last year, but 2 years ago, Robert was an all-star. Had really good numbers, had 36 home runs. So, we like to leave out things to make an argument, and I get that. But you got to also remember, yeah, Alex, I am leading on Robert's last month's numbers, but everybody's all of a sudden talking about Vientos' last 10 games as well. And I just gave you the numbers. They're very similar, except for Robert plays better defense and is a need for the New York Mets in center field with the possibility of more power that you have not gotten from Mark Vientos. Again, they're only 4 home runs apart. Robert has 41 RBIs. Vientos has 26. All right. The batting average is 20-point difference. Vientos wins that argument. But yeah, also got 25 stolen bases for Luis Robert. I guess that don't count. That doesn't count. Well, yeah. Well, okay, right? Half this fan base wanted McNeil not even on this team. And if it wasn't for McNeil, where would this team be? No, Joe, I'm not dying on the Robert Hill. I'm trying to explain to you why it makes sense in David Stern's eyes. That's the point. Again, we have 5 days to get better. The only people are bringing up is Cedric Mullins. And again, I'm fine with that. I'm fine, but people think it's going to cost less to get Cedric Mullins. You are nuts. Cedric Mullins had a bad season this year. Last year was pretty damn good. You really think that Cedric Mullins doesn't have more value than Luis Robert right now? I think that's hard to believe. Yeah, well, let's ask everybody. Vientos is not playing third base every day for the New York Mets. Why? Because he lost his job. It's mostly Beatty and Mauricio. He's DHing kind of, and he's nothing special. Well, Joe, I tend to agree with you on that. But the whole idea of talks intensifying with the White Sox and the Mets tells me that, look, if it was Vientos for Robert straight up and Stearns didn't have a problem with that, the deal would have been done. So I do believe that Stearns is trying to get Vientos out of the deal and putting somebody else in there. But again, it takes two to tango, guys. And this goes for any team the Mets are dealing with. You can't give the guys that nobody wants or that you don't want. The whole point of a trade is both teams feel like they got a fair offer. And some might say, well, how is it a fair offer for the Mets? Again, it fills a need. Like, Robert is already better offensively than Tyrone Taylor, even on a bad season. More home runs, much more RBIs. Stolen bases, more than Tyrone Taylor. And he provides just as good as defense. That's the idea. Yeah, and people forget about that. And again, would I want Vientos for Robert to be the deal? Am I going to cry about it? I'm not. Because it provides more of a need than what Vientos is providing. Vientos is not providing the fix for the hole at third base. We have Brett Beatty for that. Right? And as a DH, he's terrible. Because he's put up nothing this year. He's provided no power at all. Yeah, ACJ, I don't think they trust Acuna in center field. They would have done that. And I think people are hyping Acuna up way too much. I don't even think he's going to be a star. I think he's going to be a solid, decent player. He shows no power. He doesn't hit for average. With the speed that he has, he should be hitting for average. Yeah, ACJ, I'm not waiting for Vientos, right? We're through 105 games. He's been a shell of what we've seen last year. It's a huge problem. Because, once again, guys, please wait until August 1st. And if all these guys are still on this team, nobody complain about the offense. Because what I've been complaining about all year has been the pitching. I truly think that if you get better starting pitching and you revamp your bullpen, you're going to be in pretty good shape. Everybody all year has been talking about the offense. We need a bat. We need a bat. And then when you talk about bats, nobody wants to give up anybody for these bats. So that, like, we forget what you guys talked about the whole year through 105 games. You guys are nuts. Well, easy. That's the thing. He has 6 home runs, even as bad as Luis Robert has been. And oh, by the way, let's talk about protection that everybody loves to talk about on this chat. For your Pete Alonso lovers who only talked about protection for Pete Alonso, right? Mark Vientos has been in the best lineup he's been in. He was in a much better line. He's in a much better lineup this year than he was last year. Yet he has 6 home runs. Does anybody know who's protecting Luis Robert right now? With his 10 home runs? Well, ACJ, I don't care if you don't want Roberts. I'm not saying you have to get Roberts. I would be very okay with Cedric Mullins. I would be fine with Cedric Mullins. But we act like there's other bats out there that the Mets are going to get or are out there. Eugenio Suarez isn't coming to the Mets unless the Mets really shift gears here and says, all right, you know what? We can deal with Tyrone Taylor in center field. No problem. Or even put McNeil in center field. We'll put Beatty at second base. We'll use Vientos and maybe another prospect or two to give to the Diamondbacks for Suarez. And then there's your third baseman and there's your bat. Pantries, thank you. You lose a minus defender and you gain a better defender. Base running isn't even close. Robert, it's way better on the base pad. 10 home runs, 41 RBIs to 6 to 25, 26 RBIs from Mark Vientos. Right now, Robert's having a better season overall if you want to put everything together. Nobody cares about defense until they make a great catch and an important catch in a game. Right? Vientos doesn't provide any defense. And we keep on giving guys so many opportunities that lost their job. Vientos had the job on opening day. There was no doubt about that. He lost it. That's on him. Why do you want, ACJ, I wish you were in the stream earlier, right? Some people's logic was like, I don't want Sandy Alcantara because he has a 5 ERA or 6 ERA. Gallen has what, a near 5 ERA? So I'm using their reasoning that was in the chat earlier. No. Right? People want Merrill Kelly because he has a 3.5 ERA, but he's 37 years old. They don't care about the past. Doesn't matter. Look what they're doing this year. Like, that's the problem. The fact of the matter is, there's not a lot of guys that are having really good seasons. And again, I brought up Tommy Edman last year, who wasn't playing very well for the Cardinals, went to the Dodgers, became MVP, basically. You go back all the time and just look, right? Jack Flaherty wasn't having a really good year with the Tigers. It was okay, but nothing special. Did really well in the playoffs for the majority of the games. I think he only pitched bad against the Mets. After that, he pitched really well. Yeah, well, Truman, again, and here's the problem. People want to keep on holding on to these guys, and then when they lose all value and they don't help your team, they're basically a DFA away from being off the team, and then you get basically nothing for them. They're not on the team anymore, so they can't help you offensively or defensively, and now they don't even help you as an asset in a trade. Yeah, Mendy took Vientos out in the 6th inning yesterday, and a lot of people believed that. And, that almost cost us because, remember, Acuna came up in a big spot. And, Acuna wasn't doing anything big in that spot, right? And Vientos obviously got that 2-run double, and that would have been a big spot for Vientos to come up. But guess what? I think the trade talks were that serious that Mendoza was probably told from up above, hey, this trade might go down. We need to get Vientos off the field before he gets hurt. Like, everybody wants opportunities. Everybody wants to keep on giving opportunities. When they lose value and they're not useful to this team, and then when you want to trade them because they're not doing well, you act like other teams want them. If Vientos' value is still high based on the year he's having right now, use it to your advantage. And I'm not saying it has to be for Luis Robert. Again, maybe you can find elsewhere to get a better player. And I don't think it's going to be a bat. But let's say he's part of the Sandy Alcantara deal or the Edward Cabrera deal. Like, okay. But his value to teams are still high because they're still, 2024 drunk and looking to last year. If his value is still that high to other teams, and clearly the Mets are not as high in Vientos as other teams are, clearly. Because if they were, they'd be playing him at third base every day and hoping for the best. But they're not doing that. Dave, I don't think you're going to see any of those guys, to be quite honest with you. Maybe, depending on what the Mets do with the bullpen, maybe you'll see Sproat or McLean in bullpen situations, but I think the Mets are going to get enough bullpen. So I don't think you're going to see any of those guys. Yeah, and Patrice, that's the thing. Like, we act like we don't have a logjam of infielders. Like, what are we doing with them? You realize 2 of these guys can play and the other 2 are sitting on the bench? How does that help anybody? None of these guys are good off the bench. Beatty actually, I think, has decent numbers off the bench, but he's going to be starting. So, like I said, Vientos, keeping him will probably make him the DH. But again, you're getting nothing from Vientos DH. You're not getting, he's not even showing power, which is the major concern. And I'm gonna be very truthful with you guys. If Vientos was hitting home runs and the average was bad and the on base was bad and all that other stuff was not good, but he was hitting home runs, and let's say he had between 10 and 15 home runs, I would say, you know what? I like that I'm seeing power from Vientos, but you're not getting that either. The one thing he's actually good at is power, and you're not getting it. That's the problem. And he's in a good lineup. So I just don't know. Well, even if Vientos has a good second half, we're really going to talk about him playing very well in the AL Central, that the only good team is the Detroit Tigers on with no pressure on one of the worst teams in baseball. That's what, who cares? And the fact that Vientos still hasn't adjusted to what the pitchers are doing, what teams are doing to him, is concerning to me. This has been the same problem all year. He swings at that damn slider on the outside corner or off the plate every single time. I was shocked he turned on a fastball yesterday inside, because he hasn't been catching up to that either. So, well, Brad, I think the reason why the White Sox don't want Acuna, because I don't think they think he's any good. We're not the only ones that see what's going on with Luis Angel Acuna. Earlier in the season, remember when Francisco Lindor talked about Acuna and that he's kind of lackadaisical? He kind of hinted at that. And, Acuna got the second base job and lost it in about 2 weeks. Like, teams watch that. Why do you want a guy that has shown no power, hasn't shown any adjustment at the plate, not trying to put the ball in play with his speed, and he's good defensively, but again, a top prospect needs to be better than just a defensive player. So that's the problem. I think it's fair. Each one of these guys, if you want to be really fair, each one of these guys had a really good season once in their career. If that's fair, right? Just because it was last year for Vientos and for Roberts, it was 2023. We act like his last good season was 2021 or 2019. It was 2 years ago. Like, we went on the hint from David Stearns that Sean Manaea 2 years ago was a solid pitcher when they signed him last year, and we laughed. Griffin Cannon, right? Nobody wanted him. And again, I think it's fair. I do think it's a fair trade, considering that if you look at the numbers this year, again, I don't care about last year. Vientos' numbers are not making a miraculous comeback this year. Like, you can't just place his numbers from last year and put them in this year and say, well, if he hit a home run in this game, that counts. No. If you put their numbers together, Roberts has been the better player this year. He has better speed. He's better defensively, has a little bit better OPS. His average is the only thing that Vientos is better than. Luis Roberts has more home runs and has more RBIs, nearly 20 more RBIs. That's the difference. Well, Patrick, no, that's wrong. 2024 was Chicago's worst season. 2023 wasn't Chicago's worst season. They weren't good. But remember, they were supposed to be the up-and-coming team in 2022 and 2023. So Robert did his job in 2023. And I agree, Vientos' best was in October. But just like, Spencer of the Red Sox, who was not even in baseball anymore, had a great postseason, right? Jorge Soler was MVP in the postseason, basically not the same player, right? There's guys that are one-hit wonders that never do anything else in their career. Like, I mean, we're making Vientos out to be a lot better than he is. He's going to be a DH for this team. He is not playing the field. He is a detriment on the field. Let's understand that, guys. And I'm not even going to go as far as Vientos is Dom Smith. I don't even think that's fair to Vientos. But I feel like the need of this team is filling a hole that is desperately needed. And again, if that's Mullins or Robert, I'm okay with that because they both have potential. And I do think a guy like Cedric Mullins, who let's go back to last year, had a good season, really good season for one of the better teams in baseball. If you want to bring up Vientos' numbers, let's bring up Mullins' numbers last year. Again, he's not a power hitter, Cedric Mullins, but he puts the bat on the ball. He uses his speed. He's great defensively. Yeah, but Dakota, we can't work on a defense while you're trying to win games. And yes, on another team. Exactly. Let the White Sox worry about that. Right? They want to throw him in third base and make him butcher balls and lose games. Go ahead. Go ahead. Like, that's the issue, right? We can't have guys working on things that are not established, right? When Lindor says, you know what, I'm slumping, but I'm working on things, you're going to trust Francisco Lindor. Same thing goes for Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo. You know how many people didn't want Alvarez even back because Luis Torrens was a solid backup? You know how fast they were clamoring for him? They said, Vientos, work on this and work on that. He worked on it. Now, ultimately, we'll see how that turns out. The last time Vientos hit a home run, I think, was in May, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the end of May. All right, trade has to be good. Robert hasn't been good for 2 years. Sure, he hasn't been good for 2 years. I agree with you. But he's also having a better season than Mark Vientos this year. Why are we caring about 2 years ago and now we're caring about Vientos last year when those numbers mean absolutely nothing this year? No, committee, I'm talking about when Alvarez was really, really bad and he got sent to the minors. People were happy because Luis Torrens was playing every day. And again, Alvarez was eventually going to be back. We all knew that. But the fact is, Vientos didn't get sent down to work on things. He's finding his way at the major league level, helping us lose games. That doesn't help. I agree, Dave. I think we have been way too generous with giving guys chances at the major league level. Why do we have so many levels of the minor leagues and these guys aren't ready to do what they need to do? Like, there's been many guys that have great postseasons and never amount to anything. And again, I'm not saying Vientos is a complete dud, but what are we waiting for here? Are we waiting until September when he might have 10 home runs? He has 6 home runs in 4 months, guys. Are we waiting for that? So in September, when Vientos is still not getting it together, what are you going to say then? Well, DH, bench him for an injured Winker? Like, we have to understand that there is no adjustment to Vientos' at-bats, right? He turned on a pitch inside. And by the way, guys, have you ever been in a slump in baseball? Any baseball you ever played? The easiest pitch to hit is a ball running inside while you're struggling, because when you struggle, you tend to pull a little bit more. And that's the pitch usually you can get around because you got to pull your hands in and you're already flying out. You're already pulling the ball. You're already pulling everything. And the big reason why Vientos, I think, isn't hitting home runs this year is because he's pulling everything, and his best way of hitting is hitting the ball to center or the right center to from center to right center. That's his best way of hitting the ball. That's when he's at his best. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's hit 1 out of the 6 home runs to the opposite field. That's a problem. Well, Ryan, what do you want to send Mauricio for? Right? I mean, do you realize Vientos is only batting 226? He has 6 home runs and 26 RBIs for a guy who's supposed to be in the middle of this lineup, who barely plays, lost his third base job, can't play first base, can't play third base. Numbers don't show that he should be a DH. Well, Dave, I'm not even saying that Robert's going to be the difference between winning the World Series or not. But he already provides attributes that can help this team now that Vientos does not do right now. He steals stolen bases. Vientos is a snail. He has 25 stolen bases. What does Vientos have? 1? He provides tremendous defense. Vientos doesn't. There's a possibility that we see Luis Robert help this team more, even if it's defensively or on the base paths, more than Vientos does all around. Easy. Well, that's the difference. Alvarez got sent down to get fixed. Why the Mets and Vientos couldn't get sent down because I don't think he has any more options. So it's trial and error. But again, you can't keep on playing Vientos and having him be a 0 and you're trying to win games. You can't be successful doing that. It doesn't work. So you're leaving Vientos on the bench. He's sporadically playing. He's a waste of a roster spot. Same thing with Acuna, by the way. And yeah, pitches. He has 2 club options, Robert. And it's for $20 million, which is insane. But again, there's a buyout for $2 million. If it doesn't work out, you buy him out for $2 million. It's not the end all be all. But let's just say the 10 games for both guys, Vientos and Roberts. Roberts has had better 10 games than Vientos, right? Vientos has shown no power while Robert has. If they both continue this, let's say they go on this streak together and they both looking better over the next month, Robert still provides the better option overall as a player. And Paula Salud. Yeah, Joe, I agree. I think he's technically a rental. And Rock, I do agree with you about Mauricio. So yeah, I do agree, guys. But the fact of the matter is, we have to really figure out what is better for this team. What has been successful for this team? What is it? Right? Is it still trying to figure out if Vientos can actually hit a baseball? Can he actually show some power? He's shown none. Right? And again, I am not saying Vientos for Robert is the end-all be-all. I am not saying that. If you want to use Vientos in another trade to bring somebody better, go right ahead. Yeah, but you know what? Yasiel Puig had really good years with the Dodgers. Well, Easy, here's the thing. I think Vientos is a stupid player. Is that fair to say? I think I don't think he's a smart baseball player. Now, I'm not saying Luis Robert is, but I feel like if you get Luis Robert, who's been an all-star, who is a guy that I believe still got that potential in him, I think if you put him around Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, I think that is going to make a big difference. Luis Roberts on an island out there in Chicago. And again, he didn't help himself. But, we're calling Vientos Swaggy V because he has this cockiness about him, and he still has this cockiness about him, even though he's not good. And that's fine. Greg, I don't think so. Well, Rock, that's the problem. Vientos has made no adjustments to that breaking ball. So, like I said, if Vientos isn't going nowhere, I want the same people to save face and come back in September when Vientos is still not hitting and he's still not providing any offense, and then you can't do anything about it because the trade deadline has well passed. And then we'll be talking about it. Like, stop putting Vientos on this pedestal. We got to stop. It's kind of embarrassing. Well, Truman, sure, it might not. Easy. Oh, thank you for bringing up Soler because I brought it up on the last show. Right? Vientos is out of the lineup probably for a reason. He came out of yesterday's game mid-game because I think those talks intensified. And they didn't want to get people hurt. And Robert was already out of the lineup. And he's out of the lineup again. So, again, yeah, Jorge Soler was batting 160. He was basically Luis Robert in a nutshell. And he was World Series MVP. And again, I'm not saying that that's going to be the case for the Mets and Robert. I'm not saying that. I am not putting Robert on a pedestal. I'm telling you that he has better numbers than Mark Vientos this year. Too many people were talking about last year like it matters. It doesn't. If you're going to bring up last year, I'm bringing up 2023, right? Because past matters. No, it doesn't. Right? There's been many guys who has been struggling that has been traded to a team at the deadline that has really done well for that team. That's a contender. So we will see. And again, am I going to be jumping up for joy for Luis Robert? No. I am not far over critical of Mark Vientos. Do you see his numbers? 226, 6 home runs, 26 RBIs. No speed, no defense. That isn't special. Especially a guy who is supposed to be the third baseman for the New York Mets of the future, who is supposed to provide 25 to 30 home runs easily, and hasn't shown anything, hasn't adjusted in 105 games that the Mets have played this year. He's looked the exact same as he did on April 1st. He can't lay off the outside breaking balls. He cannot. That's the problem. Well, you know what? 2.5 years of failure for Beatty. That's fine. But Beatty has outplayed Mark Vientos this year. He's playing over Vientos. Like, you can't sit Vientos on the bench and just sit there. And, here, DH. He's not hitting. Do you guys realize that? You're going to put this guy at DH, play Beatty at third base. Fine. Beatty deserves to play third base. He's been better than everybody that we've been talking about. You're still not better in center field. So you got the DH hole with Vientos not hitting. You got Taylor, who's going to be the center fielder if you don't make a move. So you got two holes once again. So you're not filling anything at the deadline. And yes, I just checked. Robert was in the lineup. He was DH. So they're protecting him. They're not even making him play the field. And again, I'm not choosing and saying, Robert is the end-all be-all. I'm not saying that. But don't bring up numbers like Vientos. It has better numbers than Luis Robert this year. He doesn't. And a lot consider Robert having a bad season. So what is Vientos having? An even worse season? Yeah, Joel, I think I truly think that yesterday's talks intensified with the White Sox or whoever that Vientos was involved in a trade. I think it intensified. Maybe it's the Marlins. Maybe it is the White Sox. Well, CZ, you must have been living under a rock. It's been reported multiple times. I'm not saying it's out of my ass. I promise you that. There was multiple reports from Will Salmon. There was report from Ernest Dove. There was reports from the Mets minor league beat reporter in regards to Vientos and top prospects being benched today in multiple levels of the minor leagues. There's about 4 or 5 reports that are talking about Mark Vientos, or at least the White Sox who really like Mark Vientos. Like, they've been targeting Mark Vientos. And again, I think this trade has not happened because I think Stearns is still a little bit unwilling to give up Vientos. Now, is it Vientos straight up for Luis Robert? That has been reported, or at least that's assumed it's been the case. But maybe he is trying to get Vientos out of that deal. I don't know. But Vientos is not playing today. He got knocked out. He was taken out of the game in the middle of the game yesterday for Acuna, which almost cost us. But again, when you're in trade talks, you can't get these guys hurt. That would be funny, right? Vientos starts crying and then they don't make the trade and then he goes crazy. That would be awesome. Hey, listen, whatever works. But we will see. Again, I've been looking at the White Sox roster. There isn't nothing appealing in the bullpen. So, because I was starting to think, I'm like, you know what? You can get Luis Robert, but can you get a good bullpen piece just for Mark Vientos? Now we have a better conversation, right? I'm not overly excited for Vientos and Robert straight up. It's not going to, it ain't going to move the needle for me. But to say that Robert hasn't had a better season than Vientos, you're nuts. But I got to look at the roster for the White Sox. I really haven't seen good bullpen arms there. But again, I could be missing somebody. But let's say there is a bullpen arm that Stearns likes. Add him to the mix. Maybe that's the case. Well, Dolo, again, I haven't looked at. I'm going to look at it now. I mean, just give me a few minutes to just check the White Sox roster, and I'll let you know. I'll let you know. Let's see. Pitchers. Let's see. Brandon Iser, Tyler Gilbert, Adrian Hauser. Everybody wants him. He's having a really good season. Well, yeah, Truman. I think everybody would love to trade Acuna and Siri. But why do you think the White Sox want the trash that the Mets have? Like, that's the problem. It doesn't work that way. Both teams have to feel like they got a fair deal. If the Mets don't want this guy and they don't even play Acuna, and Siri's hurt, so he's not going to be tradable. Well, Joel, I'm just saying, like, Adrian's Houses are having a good season. But again, nobody wants him, right? Jordan Leisure, let's check his numbers. I don't know what he is. He's a right-hander. 4.78 ERA. He's a reliever. Not good. Davis Martin, 3.89 ERA. 85 innings. I'm assuming he's a starter. That's kind of a lot of innings. Let's see. Grant Taylor. Let's see what he got. 4.66. Hey. Mike Vasil. You remember him? Hey, he's having a good year. Mike Vasil, former Mets prospect. 2.63 ERA. 65 innings. Think we can get him back? He's looking good in the bullpen. Actually, that might be an idea, right? The Mets can get back Mike Vasil. I don't think the White Sox will do that because he's under control for probably, 4 more years? Steven Wilson, 3 ERA, 33 innings, right-hander. Not bad, right? Not bad. Maybe you can get a Steven Wilson. Couldn't tell you who he is, but he's got a 3 ERA with 33 innings. 31 strikeouts, a 1.48 whip. Hey, not bad. Career 3.83 ERA. Not bad, right? I think he got 1 more year left on his deal. How about that guy? Throw Steven Wilson in there. And again, Mike Vasil, let's see. Yeah, 48 strikeouts, 65 innings, 2.63 ERA. Let's see if we can get him back. I don't see Mike Vasil getting traded because he's got years of control. I don't see the White Sox doing that. But yeah, there's really not that much. Aaron Civale, I mean, back in the rotation guy, maybe a long man. He's at almost 4.5 ERA. I mean, there isn't anything special, like I don't really know what they would do. Tyler Anderson, no. Alexander, that's not going to happen. Dan Altavilla, no. Like, I mean, he's having a good season, 2.25 ERA. 24 innings. I mean, there isn't much. I mean, maybe they can get a guy like Steven Wilson in that deal as well. Another bullpen piece. Who the hell knows, right? But all right, let's finish up by talking about the game today, right? Obviously, the Mets are on the verge of sweeping the San Francisco Giants in Oracle Park. And yeah, the Met game is on ESPN. Don't remind me. We'll see what we get from Kodai Senga. I mean, he had 47 days off after the All-Star break and gave you 3 innings of nothing baseball, nothing pitching. And we'll see what we get today from Kodai Senga. He's had, an extra day rest, so he's on pitching on the 6th day once again. Couldn't tell you what I'm going to get from him. If I don't know. I can't even tell you. No, hopefully the offense scores runs, right? That's it. Matt Gage is, Matt Gage. He's a lefty. But the Giants are doing a bullpen game today, so there you go. You get a bullpen game for the Giants. So this is a good opportunity for the Mets to beat up on their bullpen. Will that happen? Who the hell knows? Right? But the lineup, again, not including Mark Vientos, and there's a reason for that, guys. I think talks are intensifying to the point where Mark Vientos is not in the lineup and was taken out mid-game yesterday, which, again, nobody understood why, but when you get closer to the deadline and you take a guy out mid-game, right after he hits a 2 RBI double, there's all speculation and showing that he's not in the lineup today against even with a lefty starting is interesting. So keep an eye out on that. And Ernest Dove was it Ernest Dove or was somebody, another reporter, I forgot his name. I would like to give him credit, but I forgot. Said that Sunday night might be a very interesting type of, deadline day where there might be some moves later tonight. So I'm off tomorrow. So I might just do after a post-game show, whenever that is, 9:45, 10 o'clock, I'll have Zach with me on the post-game. I might do a Mets Trade Watch show for about an hour or two into the wee hours of the night. If everybody wants to hang out, we can do that. Because I think there's going to be some late night action here into Sunday into Monday. And I think that would be nice to see. So, again, the lineup, you got Marte playing in the lineup again. Marte has been outstanding ever since coming back from his injury. Alvarez has been showing some life. Beatty has been really good. Mauricio, on and off. McNeil has been good against lefties. Alonso, Soto, Lindor, and Nimmo looking a little bit better. Lindor seems like he's broke out of it. A lot of good signs here. The Mets didn't score a ton of runs yesterday. They won 2-1. But guess who showed up? The pitching showed up. It is amazing what happens when your pitcher gives you innings. Imagine that. It makes the job of Carlos Mendoza a hell of a lot easier, doesn't it? Doesn't it help your bullpen when your starters actually give you some goddamn length? And the defense showed up yesterday, absolutely, all over the place. Pete Alonso was the star of that defensive web gem yesterday. Obviously, caught that smoking liner to end the game where Diaz wasn't fooling anybody. But sometimes you need good defense. Sometimes you need good pitching. The Mets got both. When you get length from your starting pitching, it makes the job easier for Mendoza to go to the guys he actually wants to go to for his bullpen. And Vientos for Suarez, if the Diamondbacks want Vientos only, they're idiots, but I do that in a nanosecond. But that's not going to happen. As much as we would, look, everybody would sign on the dotted line Vientos for Suarez straight up. I think we all can agree, right, in the chat? Of course we do that. But it's probably going to be Vientos plus. Vientos plus probably 2 top 20 prospects. Like that's probably, yeah. All right. Stan says, yes, a trade watch sounds good. You know what? I'm going to do it. Screw it. Hopefully this is like a 2-hour game. Get this post game in. So here we go, guys. Listen up. I did a lot of people in the stream today. Over 360 in the stream today. So great job by you guys. I appreciate the support. If you're watching on X, you're watching on YouTube. Mets Trade Watch live starting at 11 o'clock. How's that sound, guys? 11 p.m. tonight, Sunday into Monday. We'll do 11 to 1. Sounds good, right? I like 11 to 1. That sounds nice. I'll stay up with you guys. Yeah, I might have a snack or two, but it might stuff my face a little bit because I'm starving. But that's okay. That's all right. I think everybody can understand that. Right? A little midnight snack. Getting some trade watch here as, things might be happening, 4 days away after today. A lot's going to happen. Let's do it, Rock. Let's do it. We got weed in here. Absolutely. We're going to do it. 11 p.m. tonight. Mets Trade Watch live right here on the channel and on X. How about that? Weed, I'm going to do it. You know what? This is the fun time of year. The Mets are buyers. Mets are one of the best teams in baseball. Why the hell not, right? Maybe we'll even get a trade from the Mets during that watch, that little watch party, right? How about that? All right, guys. So Mets Giants series finale. Kodai Senga, Matt Gage on the mound. Mets are looking for the sweep in the Bay Area. And just like that, guys, we add another show to the already busy Sunday. Enjoy the game, guys. Let's go, Mets. Let's get those brooms out. I'll see you on the post game with myself and Zach whenever the game is over. And 11 p.m. tonight, Mets Trade Watch right here on the channel and on X. I'll set it up in about a half hour, 45 minutes, and you guys can start hitting that like button early. And if we get the support like we were getting in the last show, in the Mets Trade Deadline show and the pregame show, the biggest of the year so far, guys. I really wish Chris was here. But don't forget, guys, if you're here and this is the first time you're on the channel, I appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. But my co-host, who's usually on the pregame with me, True Mets Talk with CP, Chris, can't join us. He's on a little vacation right now. Drinking that beer, enjoying his vacation. Make sure you subscribe to his channel as well, because I can't do this without him as well, because we do work well together and we've helped each other a lot, and that's important. So look out for the 11 o'clock Mets Trade Watch on the channel and on X, 11 p.m. The quicker you guys hit that like button, the more likes we get prior to the stream, the more it's going to get a lot more notice, guys. So that's the idea. More people, more conversations, more fun, more Mets fans. What's better than that? Strike Blitz, 100%. Game changer. If he continues to do what he's been doing, I do agree. With that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Amazing Mets pregame show. The support has been amazing today. If you haven't checked out the 2 videos that I posted today, one involves the Mets and the Marlins. The other involves the Mets and the White Sox. I go into detail on both. So if you didn't get a chance to see it, now you can, guys. See you on the post-game show with myself and Zach. And see you later at 11 p.m. for Mets Trade Watch right here on the channel and on X, guys. Let's go, Mets. Get that sweep, and I'll see you later today, guys. Let's go.
Seven train rumble, headed to the field. Orange and blue vibes, the energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, repping both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Hear 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the sky.